People have been seeing him for decades. A shadow. A man with a hat. Always watching. He's been reported in bedrooms, forests, hospitals, and nightmares, and even while people are wide awake. Some say he's part of the shadow people. Others say that he's something much worse. And over the years, countless theories and sightings have been scattered across the internet, but never organized into one place, until now. This is the Hat Man Iceberg, the first of its kind. I built it from the ground up, collecting every story, rumor, and nightmare I could find, from the most common reports to the theories you were never meant to hear. Tier 1. The surface. The Hat Man phenomenon. It starts in the same way in almost every account. You're alone, in bed, it's dark, maybe a little too quiet, and then you feel it. The weight of someone in the room, not footsteps, not sound, but just a presence. And when you open your eyes, he's already there. The Hat Man. A tall, shadowy figure dressed in a trench coat, the wide-brimmed hat. Usually standing in the corner of your room, or framed in the doorway. He doesn't speak, he doesn't move, he doesn't breathe, but his gaze, if he even has eyes, burns into you like a spotlight in the dark. What makes the Hat Man so terrifying is the consistency. This isn't just one person's dream. Reports of the Hat Man stretch across decades and continents from the United States to Brazil, Germany to Iran. And they all say the same thing. Tall, shadowy, hat watching. And for many, he's the first shadow person they'll ever see. For others, he's the last. Sleep paralysis entity. The Hat Man's most common entrance is through sleep paralysis, a phenomenon where your mind wakes you up, but your body remains completely frozen. It's in a state of helplessness. Breathing becomes shallow, you can't speak, and you can't move. Your body's locked in place as something enters the room. Paralysis by itself is already terrifying, but what makes it worse is what you see. The Hat Man doesn't storm in, he doesn't crawl out from under your bed, he's already there. As if he's been watching, waiting for you to wake up. Some researchers have brushed this off as a hypnagogic hallucination. Your brain is trying to explain the helplessness by inventing a villain. But here's the problem. Why do so many people hallucinate the same man? Why the coat? Why the hat? And why the stillness? It's not even just fear, it's like a ritual. One where you wake up and he's already begun. Link to shadow people. Before the internet gave us the term the Hat Man, people spoke of shadow people, dark silhouettes that flit across walls and vanish when you look at them. They're skittish, unformed, flickers as something wrong in the edge of your vision. But the Hat Man isn't like them. Where shadow people are fast and fleeting, the Hat Man is still impatient. Where shadow people seem confused or curious, the Hat Man feels aware, intentional, and intelligent. Some paranormal researchers believe he's a higher class of entity, not just a shadow person, but their ruler, their commander. Others suggest he's not even in the same category, and that he's something else entirely. Not a ghost, not a demon, but something that mimics the shape of a man, because it knows that's what scares us the most. Wears fedora or top hat. So let's talk about the hat. It sounds like a trivial detail, but it's always there. A wide-brimmed shadow cast across his face, obscuring the features that seem to exist. In most reports, it's described as a fedora, like something a detective would wear. A lot of theories vary. Some say it marks him as an observer, like a man in uniform watching from a distance. Others point out the hat is old-fashioned, that it hints that the Hat Man is not bound by time. Stands and watches. The Hat Man doesn't chase you, he doesn't speak, he doesn't scream, he doesn't even lift a finger, he just watches. And that's what makes him so horrific. When something attacks, at least it acts. But the Hat Man does nothing. And yet you can't shake the feeling that he's doing something, studying you, reading your thoughts, memorizing your fear. Benadryl hallucinations. One of the most disturbing evolutions of the Hat Man mythos came from the rise of the Benadryl challenge culture, a dark corner of the internet where users experiment with high doses of dipyrhydramine, a common allergy drug. And around 500 milligrams, that's where the world begins to fracture. You start seeing spiders that don't exist, you hold conversations with people who aren't there, and for many, you see him, the Hat Man. Some describe him standing in their yard. Others say he appears in the bathroom mirror or standing behind a door, barely visible through the crack. But in the worst cases, people say the Hat Man doesn't just appear, he brings others with him. Figures in coats, blank faces, matching hats. They surround the user in silence, and they watch until the trip ends. These aren't just hallucinations, they feel coordinated, and afterwards some people say the Hat Man stays, long after the Benadryl wears off. I actually covered the Benadryl challenge in one of my first videos I ever made on this channel. I'll link it right here and in the description below. Hat Man documentary 2013. In 2013, director Kyle J. Macias released a Hat Man documented cases of pure evil. It wasn't a viral sensation and it wasn't widely distributed, but for those who saw it, it validated something that they'd never been able to explain. The film features interviews from people who have all experienced the same figure. They come from different places, different belief systems, and different cultures. And yet they all describe him the same. Same hat, same coat, and the same silence. What's eerie is how many of them have never heard of the Hat Man before seeing him. Not from any type of urban legend and no creepypasta. They were just trying to survive a nightmare. And then they found out that other people had seen him too. The man in the corner. There's a phrase that shows up again and again in first-hand reports. I woke up and there's a man in the corner. It's never a shadow, it's never a ghost, it's always a man, standing perfectly still, arms at his sides, and just watching. He doesn't flicker or blur like shadow people, and he wants to be seen. And once you've seen him, it's impossible to unsee. And when he's not there, you'll catch yourself staring at the corners, the shadows, waiting to see him again. The Hat Man and the Old Hag. Not all visits are solitary. In some of the most terrifying reports, the Hat Man appears alongside another entity, the Old Hag. She's hunched, pale, sometimes crawling, sometimes perched on your chest. She whispers, scratches, or simply stares while the Hat Man stands in the background. Some theorize she's the physical paralysis, and that he's the mental invasion. She holds you down, and he studies the effect. It's like watching a ritual, one that enacts torment, while the other records it. And the worst part is, when they leave, it feels like it wasn't a dream. It feels like they took something with them. No face, only shadow. The Hat Man has a body, he has arms, legs, shoulders, all human-shaped. But where the face should be is nothing. Not just a blur, not just a shadow, but a void. People describe it as deeper than black, like staring into a hole that doesn't stop. And the longer you stare, the more it feels like it's pulling you in. Some survivors say they try to look into his face to see what he was. And what they found wasn't a thing at all. It was an absence, a lack of self, a space so empty it couldn't be human. First sleep paralysis experience. One of the most strangest and most unnerving patterns of the Hat Man lore is how often he appears in a person's very first episode of sleep paralysis. Before they know what's happening, before they've ever heard his name, and before they can even move, it's like an introduction. as if he's the welcoming figure to the world beyond dreams. And in many cases, people never experience sleep paralysis again. Just that one time, and just the one visit. Like he needed you to know he was real, and that was enough. Tier 2, widely discussed. Global sightings. He's not bound to any one culture, not American, not Western, and not modern. Reports of the Hat Man have came from villages in Brazil, remote parts of Turkey, Swedish nursing homes, and Indonesian schools. He appears in war zones, in mountain towns, in cities where English isn't even spoken. In Brazil, he's called the Man with the Hat. In Arabic folklore, he's been confused with a jinn. Some Native American communities have even stories of a tall, dark man who stands on the hills and watches at dusk. And all across the world, people, completely disconnected from each other, describe the same thing: a shadow, a coat, a hat, and a stare. So that begs the question: how does a hallucination manifest so consistently in people who have never shared stories? Is he real? Or is he part of us? Group encounters. Sleep paralysis is supposed to be a solitary experience. It happens in your mind and in your body, to you and you alone. But then there are group encounters. Two siblings wake up at the same time and see him standing in the doorway. A couple both freeze in place, unable to move or speak, until they both describe the same man after. Same location, same time, and the same hat. In one report, a group of campers claimed they saw each other paralyzed and unable to scream, while a tall figure watched from the tree line. And when it was over, they all drew him from memory, and they were all identical sketches. Science tells us that group hallucinations are rare and nearly impossible without shared stimuli. So how do so many people see the exact same figure? Seen in times of stress. Patterns are everywhere in stories like these. And one that's hard to ignore is the Hat Man almost always appears during periods of intense stress or emotional trauma. Death in the family, parents divorcing, childhood abuse, hospital stays, and isolation. He doesn't come when things are fine, he comes when you're already unraveling. Some believe he's attracted to emotional suffering, like a vulture drawn to a dying body. Others believe he feeds on fear, despair, and vulnerability. But here's the most terrifying possibility. What if he doesn't feed on it? What if he causes it? What if you don't see the Hat Man because you're falling apart, but what if the Hat Man is why you start to? Hat Man and night terrors. Sleep paralysis is one thing, but some people see him while they're fully awake. These aren't dreams, they're waking terrors. The kind where you're aware of your surroundings, in your room. You know it's real, and he's still there. People have reported seeing him standing in the hallway light while they shower, in the living room at night, behind their car in a rearview mirror, while parked in their own driveway. He doesn't just visit and sleep, he shows up in the quietest moments. And once you've seen him there, you stop trusting your own eyes. Because now, you don't need to be asleep to see him. Hat Man and the smell. Many encounters describe the same thing, the smell. It comes before the fear, before the paralysis, and before the Hat Man appears. It's often described as sulfur or rotting meat or a type of decay. Like something is dead inside the room, and then just a few seconds later, the Hat Man arrives. In religious folklore, sulfur is linked to demons and the damned. Some believe it's not his smell, it's a preview, sensory echo of something coming later. And sometimes the smell lingers even after he's gone. Hat Man on DPH, and DXM hallucinations. While Benadryl hallucinations were mentioned in Tier 1, this level is something else entirely. Deliriant and dissociative abuse, especially drugs like DXM or nutmeg, and these have produced some of the most vivid, disturbing Hat Man encounters ever reported. Users describe being trapped in an empty building, guided by voices they can't recognize, only to walk into a room full of men in coats, staring silently. Others say the Hat Man appears in the peak of the trip, never speaking but always leading them somewhere, through a burning hallway, a long corridor of doors, a desert with no sky. And even after sobering up, some users report recurring nightmares at the same moment. The Hat Man doesn't leave when the trip ends, he stays. Like you unlock something, and now he can visit whenever he wants. I also have a full video over this on my hallucination drug video. I'll link it here and in the description as well. The 500 Club. You'll find it whispered on Reddit, on 4chan, and in TikTok comment sections. Welcome to the 500 Club. The name refers to taking 500 mgs of Benadryl, an absurdly high, dangerous dose of diphenhydramine that pushes users into full-on delirium. Those who have crossed that threshold report seeing the Hat Man. Some describe him as more detailed at this dose, not just a silhouette, but a figure with texture, with weight. Others say he moves differently, slower, more fluid, and more deliberate. He's no longer just watching, he's waiting for something. The 500 Club isn't a community, it's not really a fandom, it's more of a threshold. And many say once you hit that dose, you don't stop seeing the Hat Man, even after you've come down, even after weeks have passed. It becomes part of the background, like something broken in your vision or in your mind. There are posts of people begging others to not join. Some describe needing to sleep with all the lights on. Others never sleep the same again. Hat Man versus the Men in Black. This is where things start to get a little bit strange. Some theorists believe the Hat Man and the infamous Men in Black, the silent agents said to intimidate UFO witnesses, are connected. Both are silent, expressionless, dressed in black, and obsessed with observation. Some say the Men in Black are a government interpretation of something we don't understand, a cover story to explain this supernatural being. Others suggest the Hat Man is an earlier form of the Men in Black, a prototype or an archetype that evolved within society. There's even a theory that says that people see the Hat Man after a UFO experience. It's a sign not of memory loss but surveillance, that he's not there to help you. He's there to make sure you forget. The trench coat shadow. In some cases, the Hat Man's coat isn't just a coat, it moves. Some describe it as the lower part of his trench coat floating like smoke, or melting into the floor. Others say it flickers like static on a screen, as if the outline of his body is just holding onto itself. A Redditor once claimed that the coat extended past the floor like it wasn't fabric but like a curtain, and behind the curtain was something far larger than the man you could see. They believed the Hat Man wasn't just standing in your room, he was reaching through it. Appears before death. This theory is one of the most unsettling. There are many reports of the Hat Man appearing just days or hours before someone close to the witness dies. A parent, a sibling, or a friend. He doesn't cause it, he doesn't react to it, he just watches, like an observer or an auditor, like someone waiting for a soul to leave. The Hat Man doesn't guide, but he does watch. And many say after someone dies, he never returns, like he got what he came for. Hat Man and static. This might be the most strangest common thread of them all. Electronic interference. Before or during a sighting, many people report TVs flickering to static, radios turning on with white noise, phones losing signal or glitching, clocks freezing at the same minute, often 3:13 a.m. Some say the Hat Man causes electromagnetic disturbances just by entering the space. Others say he uses glitches in a way as if static is his doorway. And then there's a truly bizarre theory that he doesn't come from dreams. He comes from the signal that your TV screen, your computer monitor, your phone camera, they don't just display the world, they're portals, and the Hat Man already knows how to reach through them. Tier 3. Occult and Psychological Theories. The Tulip Theory. What if the Hat Man isn't watching us because he was created by us? The Tulip Theory is a thought form, a being willed into existence through concentrated belief. Over time, with enough emotional energy and focused thought, it becomes independent and real. Modern paranormal theorists have taken that concept and ran with it. According to the Tulip Theory, the Hat Man was never a demon or a spirit at all. He was a shared hallucination, but one we gave so much attention to, so much fear, that he crossed over and became real. And he now exists in a weird in-between state, not fully physical, but not imaginary either. He doesn't need a body, he doesn't even need to be seen, he just needs to be remembered. And the more we talk about him, the stronger he gets. Carl Jung's shadow archetype. Psychology has its own explanation for the Hat Man. Carl Jung is one of the founders of analytical psychology, theorized the concept of the shadow self, the part of our psyche that contains the dark impulses we suppress, anger, fear, guilt, shame, and trauma. It doesn't disappear, but it builds over time, and it manifests. In this view, the Hat Man is not an entity at all. He is you. Not the vision you show the world, but the version you bury. He appears in the moments of weakness or trauma because that's when your shadow is the strongest. When the divide between consciousness and unconsciousness collapses. He's the part of you that watches while you suffer. Not because he wants to hurt you, but because you created him, and you are feeding him. Hat Man as demon or jinn. Across Abrahamic and Middle Eastern traditions, entities that sound like the Hat Man have been described for centuries. In Islamic culture, jinn are non-human spirits, sometimes malevolent. They exist in a parallel plane, but can cross into ours under certain conditions. In many jinn encounters, they appear in black robes, with no visible face, often wearing strange hats or cloaks. They paralyze, they whisper, and they watch. In Christian demonology, the Hat Man fits the role of a demonic sentinel. Not one that attacks, but one that records and observes. A spiritual parasite waiting for an opening. Both belief systems share something unsettling. Entities that prey on weakness. That wait for an invitation. Or a crack in the soul. And once they enter, they don't always leave. The Soul Collector Theory. Some believe the Hat Man isn't there to torment you, he's there to actually take something. In this theory, the Hat Man is a soul collector, not a demon but a reaper-like figure who weighs people at the moment of existential crisis. You might not die, but a part of you does. Your innocence, your belief in safety, your ability to be alone in the dark. He's not punishing you. He's just taking what you were about to lose anyway. And for some, once he takes it, he never comes back, because there's nothing left to watch. Entity of depression. There's another theory that feels less spiritual and more psychological, but no less terrifying. What if the Hat Man is depression? Not a symbol, but a literal manifestation of despair, an archetype so embedded into human psyche that we break down, it appears. This theory doesn't treat him as evil, it treats him as inevitable. He appears during your worst moments, because that's when you see what's already inside you. This is why the Hat Man doesn't speak, why he doesn't move, because depression doesn't speak either. It just watches and waits, and it stays with you, even after the night ends. Hat Man and ayahuasca. While many people encounter the Hat Man in sleep or during drug-induced hallucinations, a few rare reports describe seeing him during ayahuasca ceremonies, spiritual journeys involving DMT, often in South America. These ceremonies often involve entities, often seen as guides or cosmic teachers, but for some, the Hat Man appears instead, not as a teacher but a gatekeeper, standing at the edge of a dark jungle, or at the doorway of a ruined temple. He doesn't lead you forward, he blocks the path. Shamans say that some spirits are not there to guide you, they're there to test your fear, to show you what you're not ready to face. And if you can't face it, you don't go any deeper. Hat Man's hat as a symbol. It's strange how consistent the Hat Man's hat is, even across widely different cultures and time periods. So what if it's not just an aesthetic choice? Some believe the hat is a sigil, a symbol that marks him as an observer, or a higher order being. Others see it as a cultural anchor, a way for your brain to sense an inhuman shape. The hat represents authority, disguise, or ritual, from top hats to military helmets. A hat separates the mundane from the elite. It creates distance, prestige, and fear. The Hat Man wears a hat because it puts him above you, not just in height, but in rank. The Cloaked One. In some rare variants, the Hat Man isn't wearing a hat at all, but instead a long hooded cloak. These reports describe a taller, thinner entity, often with a bent neck or slouch. Some say the cloak seems to flow around him, almost like it's alive, like smoke or silk underwater. Others say the cloak has symbols stitched into it, runes, eyes, and spirals. This version is less human, it's more like a shadow priest or a warden of something darker. And those who have seen this version often say something deeply disturbing, that the Hat Man with the hat isn't just a mask, that this is his real form. Hat Man feeding on memory. People often report forgetting things after a Hat Man encounter, not just the dream, but pieces of their day, their week. Emotions that fade without closure, faces they can't remember. Some believe the Hat Man doesn't just observe you, he feeds on you, not your body and not even your soul, but your identity. He takes your fear, your attention, and sometimes small pieces of your memory. One theory claims that this is why he's seen most often during stress or trauma, because you're already vulnerable, already fragmented, and whatever breaks away becomes his. Hat Man in the mirror world. In a surprising number of reports involve mirrors. People say they only see the Hat Man only in reflections, standing behind them or inside a mirror that should show an empty room. Some mirrors fog up when he appears, others crack without cause. In occult lore, mirrors are considered gateways, thin spots between worlds. And the Hat Man doesn't come through the mirror, he simply appears inside it, watching from a place just adjacent to ours. He's not in your room, he's in a room behind the mirror, and if you look too long, he might see you back. Servant of a larger entity. The final theory on this tier is a pretty heavy one. What if the Hat Man is not the threat? What if he's the messenger? Some stories describe seeing the Hat Man just before something else arrived. Something without a form, and something way worse. In these reports, the Hat Man was a warning, or a collector, or even a jailer, holding you in place while something higher watches. The idea here is chilling, that the Hat Man is not evil. He's a worker, a scout, and part of a larger structure that we can't see and don't want to understand. And if that's true, then the Hat Man isn't the nightmare. He's the knock on the door before the real one begins. Tier 4. Internet lore and creepypasta crossovers. The Whisper Network. Before the Hat Man hit mainstream horror circles, there were whispers. From around 2009 to 2013, several blog posts and forums reportedly made up a Whisper Network, a loose community of people who believed the Hat Man had targeted them personally. They called themselves the Watchers of the Watcher. They weren't trying to document him, they were just trying to survive. Many of those sites are gone now, deleted, and unarchived, but some of the screenshots would show tips like, don't speak his name out loud, don't look him in the face, don't sleep with mirrors uncovered, and the strangest one, if you dream of the library, turn away. Most visitors assumed it was kind of a joke, until users started posting stories about waking up with scratches, losing days of time, and seeing a man in a hat who wasn't there yesterday. The sites all went offline around 2013 with no explanation and just silence. Reddit's purged Hat Man files. There used to be entire threads on Reddit documenting the Hat Man experiences, mostly on r/nosleep, r/paranormal, and r/drugs. Posts with thousands of upvotes, first-hand experiences, dream journals, art, audio logs, and then they started disappearing. Some were deleted by the users, others were auto-moderated. A few simply vanished, gone from archives, no cached copies. Users would try to repost them and they would find their accounts shadow banned or completely frozen. A few speculated the posts weren't being removed by Reddit moderators, but by something else. Not because they broke the rules, but because they told too much. CCTV glitch appearances. On YouTube and TikTok, you'll find a growing number of home security and CCTV videos that allegedly show something resembling the Hat Man. It's usually never clear, never crisp, and it's just a tall black shape caught in one frame and gone in the next, usually near doorways, sometimes inside homes that should be empty. One particular chilling video from a gas station in 2017 shows a man walking off camera, and when the feed lags, a second figure appears beside him, taller, darker, and wearing a hat. The man never acknowledges it. Was it an artifact in the footage, some type of corrupted footage, or is it something that doesn't want to be seen? The Hat Man Speaks. This is a lesser known but terrifying subgenre of alleged audio recordings of the Hat Man speaking. In several threads and video uploads, many now deleted, people claim to have captured voices during sleep paralysis or haunting episodes. The audio often includes mechanical or reverse speech, clicks and static, low frequency rumbling, like distant thunder. And whether this part is real or just some type of hoax, these recordings have still left their impact on those who have heard him. Hat Man appears in friends' dreams. A strange pattern begins to emerge in forums and YouTube comments. After someone told a friend about the Hat Man, that friend would start to see him too, not in passing and not vaguely, but in vivid detail. The coat, the hat, and the posture. In some cases, people shared at home, and after one person dreamed of the Hat Man, the other started seeing him in the house, but not during sleep, while they were cooking, showering, or walking past mirrors. These reports led to a theory that the Hat Man can be transmitted, but not physically, like a virus of awareness. And once you know about him, you really know he knows about you too. The Library of the Mind. The library is a recurring location in DPH hallucinations and Hat Man reports. Users describe being led down a dark, endless hallway lined with books, where everything is written in a language they can almost understand. But in the center or just outside the doors, he waits. The Hat Man never really enters. He stands at the threshold like a guardian or a warden. Some users say they tried to run past him and they woke up vomiting. The library isn't a place, it's a state of mind, a collective hallucination, a dream we were never supposed to remember. Dream logs on GeoCities. Before Reddit, before creepypastas, before TikTok and Discord, there were GeoCities dream journals. In a now lost site titled The Night Room, the author documented a series of dreams involving a man in a hat standing by a bed. Each log ended with the words, "He was closer this time." The final entry was uploaded on June 4th, 2001. "I didn't wake up this time. I was already awake when he arrived." The site was deleted within the month. Some believe it was clearly an ARG, others insisted it was real. But no one has been able to recover the full archive. There's only been fragments, and one blurry image of a man in the corner of a child's bedroom. Hat Man on VHS tapes. It's a trope now of old VHS tapes with something off in the background. But there are legitimate user-uploaded stories of people digitizing childhood birthday parties, sleepovers, and family trips, only to find a man in a hat standing in the distance. Sometimes behind glass, sometimes inside the room, not moving while no one reacts. One video described a camping trip where a man in black appears standing in the woods in 3 separate shots, despite no one remembering seeing him. Another was a tape recording in the living room. The uploader wrote, "He wasn't there before, but when I watched it this time, he was." The Hat Man emoji rumor. This one sounds like a pure internet legend, but it's still mentioned in obscure parts of the web. According to an archived Tumblr post back in 2014, someone claimed that in an earlier version of Unicode, it was an experimental emoji for the watching man. It was reportedly a black silhouette wearing a fedora, staring straight forward. The emoji was allegedly removed before release, but people say it was included in beta keyboards, sometimes showing up in glitched text previews. But no official records of this emoji actually exist. But a few screenshots circulate, always with weird captions like, "He sees you. Don't type it 3 times. Was this an ARG, hoax, or coincidence? Or was it just the internet's version of a summoning circle?" Mandela Effect Hat Man variants. Some swear the Hat Man used to be different. They remember descriptions where his hat was a bowler, not a fedora, or that his coat was white and not black, or that even his face used to glow faintly, like an old television screen. Mandela Effect theorists suggest that these aren't memory errors, but bleed-throughs from an alternate timeline, corrupted perceptions or different versions of reality where the Hat Man is still watching, just slightly different in each. And the more you remember him incorrectly, some say the closer he gets. The Mirror Gate Theory. Mirrors have always had gateways in folklore, portals to other realms, versions of self or spirits. But in the Hat Man lore, the Mirror Gate Theory suggests that certain reflective surfaces, especially old mirrors or two-way glasses, act as purchase for him. He doesn't pass through the mirror, but he watches through it. One person even claimed they covered every mirror in their apartment after repeatedly seeing the Hat Man behind them, even when alone. Others have reported distortion, warping, or flickering shapes that don't move with the body, like something is watching just a second out of sync. The clock stops at 3:13 a.m. A repeated event associated with the Hat Man is clocks freezing at around 3:13 exactly, or they would reset back to 3:13. Whether it's a digital display blinking, a watch battery dying, or a smart device crashing, time 3:13 is always whispered across forums as his hour. Some say that 3:13 isn't a time, and it's a warning. Others believe it represents reversal, 3:13 being a mirror of itself. Children's drawings of the Hat Man. Scattered online, you'll find photos uploaded by terrified parents, crayon sketches, pencil doodles, watercolor blobs, and each one has the same theme: a man in black with a tall hat, no face, but sometimes with red eyes. Sometimes long fingers, but always alone and always looming. Some are labeled as the man, my friend, or he watches. Many parents have claimed their children have never been exposed to horror media, never heard of the Hat Man, and yet they draw him over and over, as if it's someone they see often but can't explain. Hat Man speaks backwards. Most Hat Man encounters are silent. He never talks, and he just watches. But on rare occasions, witnesses report him whispering. Not exactly words, but garbled reverse phrases. Sounds that only make sense when reversed in audio software. It's unclear if this is part of the story or it's just an evolution of it. But reverse speech is a known trait and supposed demonic phenomenon, from EVP recordings to possession lore. Shadow beings fear him too. This theory comes from the recurring dream journals and paranormal posts. The idea that even other shadow people fear the Hat Man. And if this is true, this would mean the Hat Man isn't just a shadow entity, he's the apex, the thing that watches even the watchers. Watching through others' eyes. More fringe accounts speak of the Hat Man not appearing at all, but instead feeling like he's seeing through someone else. A stranger locking eyes with you for too long, a friend's face going blank during conversation, a family member saying something in a voice that isn't quite theirs. Whether it's psychological projection or something darker, the result is the same. You are not alone in your own body. Appalachian Mountain sightings. Some of the strangest cluster of deep lore comes from the Appalachian region, a known hotspot for folklore, disappearances, and high strangeness. Multiple hikers, hunters, and even park rangers have reported seeing a man in black standing far off in the woods. Too still, too distant, and too wrong. He doesn't chase, he doesn't approach, and he just waits. And missing persons reports in West Virginia describe the missing as last being seen walking toward a tall man at the tree line, and then they're suddenly gone. The Hat Man ritual. There's been numerous posts about alleged Hat Man rituals, and most of the time they all include kind of a similar theme of a dark room, a standing mirror, whispering your own name backwards, and writing "I see him" 3 times. Most of the instructions claim you won't see him immediately, but within 3 nights he'll appear. Always just outside the mirror's edge, never moving, until you forget he's there. Those who have claimed to have attempted it report waking up with nosebleeds, distorted dreams, or losing entire days from memory. The Hat Man in Zeus notes. Although very rare, most of these are real. A handful of Zeus notes, verified by police reports, mention the man in the hat. Not as a cause, not a sphere, but as a companion. These say anything from "I'm not alone, he's here," "He's standing by the door, it's okay," "He's going to take me somewhere better." In some, the Hat Man is described as a comforter, a guide, the only one who understands.